Now you're listening to Fantastic Formosa with John Abrams in Taipei. All right, Fantastic Formosa returns. I'm John Abrams, and today we have Keith Perron again. Not because I can't find any better guests. Keith is actually the most amazing guest on this program ever, period. I just don't know what to do without him. We might just make this the John and Keith show. But
here's an idea. Considering that I can do different voices, I can come back as a different character.
There you go. Keith has been in radio for 40 years, maybe. How long?
35.
35. About the same time I was a journalist for about 35. Keith, last week you talked about motorcycling around Taiwan and your love affair with dogs and going to the animal, what is it called? The
Banqiao Animal Rescue.
Animal Rescue, and how you were attacked by a dog who's now considers you a friend. Mm-hmm. Well, that's often true in all fights. You fight and then you're friends. But he took some big chunks out of your muscle. Looks like.
He isn't the only one. Some other ones have done even more. But I'm not going to let that. I'm not going to let these little niggly things push me away. You know.
Niggly means small.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've got to keep it down a little bit to everybody's level of English, including my level of English. I wonder about saving dogs when I can't save myself. You know? And your motorcycle stories across Taiwan sound like suicide adventures. So I wonder who's going to take care of these animals when you die. You have a turtle. Where did you get the turtle, or did you go to the park? Was it Dawn Park or?
No, not even.
Did you steal the turtle from the park?
No, I didn't steal the turtle. The turtle was also a rescue.
Oh, just take him to the park and put him back in a pond or something.
The problem, you see, the thing is, this species of turtles, they're an evasive creature.
What's an evasive creature?
Well,
sounds like me.
Invasive creature.
Invasive is the opposite.
Yeah.
Evasive means I'm hiding.
Yeah.
Invasive means I'm right in your house. I'm eating your food.
Right. Well, you see, this is the problem. I know some people will find them and let them go, like in the Riverside Park and all that. The problem is that they will kill other species.
Oh, well, that's not good.
Which is not good. And also, I like this turtle. I call him Herman.
Herman.
It's a good German name because I think his shell looks like the German World War II helmets.
Really?
Which is the reason why I called him that.
You didn't
after Hermann Göring, you know.
You didn't put the swastika on.
No. But it was just walking one day. I was walking the dogs one day in the morning in my area, residential area. I believe that this was actually somebody's pet that they decided to let go.
On the street?
People do that kind of thing here.
It's
not unusual. Yeah.
Hey, it's a water animal. Let's
find out. Maybe they'll find where the water is. So
maybe
I took
somebody
him.
just put him outside for a couple hours, and you stole him.
Well, don't leave him wandering around. You know. But he's, this is where I'm like, because I've been surrounded by animals my entire life.
Haven't we all though?
No, but my parents had some unusual animals.
Well, okay. What I'm making a joke is there are animals everywhere.
We are.
But your family was. If you ever heard any of the previous interviews with Keith, you'll know that his family is very unusual.
Weird.
Well, okay. I'm trying to be
weird.
Nice. I'm
Crazy.
trying to be nice and say it's not like you go there and you think, well, I have to leave now. The first 5 minutes you get in the door. Okay, what kind of animals?
You mean what my family had, or
Well, yeah, growing up, your parents would bring home what?
growing up?
Camels?
No, we had a fox.
Those, they're nasty, mean.
Well, the reason why we had the fox, my parents were out hiking one day and they found an injured fox. They brought it to the vet. They ended up keeping it. It just eventually died from old age. I was young at the time, so I don't remember too well. I remember some pictures that my parents showed me. The fox sleeping in my bed with me.
Oh my God.
We had one horse.
Okay.
That my parents rescued from a farmer who was going to put it down after it had been servicing the farm. It was old, so it couldn't do the same work anymore.
Well, they're expensive to feed and all that stuff.
Yeah,
Veterinarian. We had horses. So,
we left it in the field until it just died from old age. Chickens.
Well, chickens are great for eggs. Come on.
Chickens are great for eggs, and my dad being French and like cooking, if we were hungry, he said, have a chicken tonight. I'm going to go get it.
Yeah.
So I learned how to skin and gut a chicken when I was like 9 years old.
Defeather.
Yeah.
That's a very
messy
process.
But it's good to know where the food comes from. So we had that. We had a snake.
Well, now you had to be very specific. What kind of snake?
It was just a regular grass snake that we found that snuck into the home.
Snuck, whatever.
Yeah. A lot of cats, a lot of dogs.
You're telling me that a snake comes into your home and you just decide to let it stay?
Well, it just stayed. Yeah, why not? It likes the place. We bought an enclosure for it,
Well, when here, we have these poisonous snakes, and if you get any, you definitely want to get them out of the house. Particularly the cobras and the green vipers they have here.
A lot of cats, a lot of dogs. It was mostly dogs.
Right.
I think the most we ever had at one time for dogs was 7.
Okay.
Cats, a lot of cats as well. And I was always brought up to respect animals, right? Mm-hmm. But with dogs, you have to lay down. I mean, dogs are a packed animal, a pack animal, so they need to have a leader. And a lot of what I realize now for a long time is a lot of people will have dogs that misbehave, right? It's because the owner is not being a good leader to that dog. Dogs don't intentionally want to bite or to do bad things, but they have to be shown, and steered in the right direction. And any dog can be rehabilitated. I mean, I've had one dog that I had, Schoolboy. He died a few years ago, and I had him since he was a puppy. And it was weird. He got canine Alzheimer's.
Wait a minute. He got it?
Canine Alzheimer's is not an unusual thing.
For a person to get?
For dogs.
For dogs. I didn't. Yeah, of course, animals will get old and begin to forget things.
Yeah,
sure.
But it was Alzheimer's. The medicine that he was on was the same kind of medicine that they give humans that have Alzheimer's, just in a much smaller dose.
You remember? Because
I don't remember.
I might need to buy a box.
I might have some left over, actually. But the last 3 years of his life, he had Alzheimer's. It was getting worse to the point where he also attacked me, and then within
that's a bad sign.
A few minutes, humans with Alzheimer's will fight sometimes, right? And then all of a sudden, forget.
That's true.
And just forget, right? And sometimes at home he would just stare, and the next day he was totally fine, right? So when he was going through that stage, it was the same kind of symptoms that people get just with a dog, But I, kept him right to the very end until he just died one day. He just got more progressively worse, and when I woke up in the morning, he was gone.
Right.
Right. I had a Labrador that she died in 2020, the end of 2022. And Labradors have usually a life expectancy of 14 years, if you're lucky, 15 years. She was 19. And taking her for a walk was like taking somebody who's like 101 for a walk.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's amazing. Like, there's a lot of similarities with sometimes diseases that old people get. You know, so dogs that are a problem to me, they don't turn me away. They're more challenging for me because I think even dogs that are violent and nasty and everything. Because in the mountains here in Taiwan, when I ride motorcycles,
right,
you'll run into mountain dogs sometimes. They're just born in the mountains. You know, they just live in the mountains, and sometimes they chase you, right? Or sometimes they'll bark at you. But when I ride in the mountains, I always keep some kind of snack with me.
Oh, you feed the animal.
And I've seen like they're angry and vicious, and I'll throw some snacks. All of a sudden, they become really friendly because I go say, "He's feeding it." You know, they're not that stupid. You know, I'm getting food here. Wait a second. You know, and so that's how I deal with like some of the mountain dogs here that I've come across.
Well, there used to be. What year did you get here?
1997.
Wow, same year as I did. There were street dogs everywhere, and thank God they rounded them up. Finally rounded them up, but it wasn't unusual for myself to get chased down the Taipei city street by a pack of dogs, running to 7-Eleven to get safety.
Well, you know, a long time ago, I went hiking with some friends. This is when I was younger, not as old as I am now, and we went hiking in, where was it? The British Columbia, which is on the west coast of Canada.
Right. And
we were hiking in way outside of Vancouver in the mountains areas where they have bears and stuff. And the guy who we rented the hiking equipment from, because we said, what do we do if we see bears, right? He says, okay, number one, don't run. They'll outrun you and catch you, and they'll see you as dinner.
If you go uphill.
Anywhere.
Okay.
Downhill,
you might.
They will just attack, right? He said, what you do, make a lot of noise.
Okay.
If you make a lot of noise, they're going to be more scared and run away. And that's actually true.
Yeah.
You know? Like sometimes people will make the mistake, even with like vicious dogs that I've seen. When you stand up to them and really, with a loud voice, like, when I go to the Bancho Animal Shelter, I've seen people before that go there, and dogs can understand words, but they don't understand the words so much, but more the sound that it is. They associate that sound with good behavior or bad behavior. So if you're telling a dog, you should not do that, he's not going to know. You could say garble, garble, Google, but depending on how you say it, they will get the message better, depending on the volume. So, when I'm at the Bancho Animal Shelter, there was some of the other volunteers that were there. They gave me a nickname. They call me the drill sergeant.
Oh my God, that's like a military drill sergeant.
Yeah, a military drill sergeant.
Basic training, boot camp.
Yeah. Because on some of these dogs, I'm really tough, and I'm not going to stand for their nonsense. And they're always, some of the volunteers, they said, how did he come close? How is it now you can get close to you? How is it he doesn't want to bark at you or bite you anymore? I said, you have to put your feet down, and you have to be a drill sergeant, and you have to be the back end of a horse.
Okay.
You have to be really tough. Otherwise, they're going to always want to be, you have to be in control of them, So that's why I like dogs so much. Cats are weird. Because cats live in their own world.
That's true.
I always say
we have 2 cats.
Yeah, I mean, they always say, are aliens living among us? I say, well, yeah, probably cats.
They are cats, probably. From
cats,
another planet.
Cats want attention when they want it, and if you give it to them and they don't want it, they'll give you the middle finger.
Yeah,
that's what they're thinking.
Yeah, they look at you in a disgusted way, like, how dare you touch me?
Yeah.
But yeah, when they want it, you better give it to them. Kind of like wives, actually.
But it's like, at home now, I have my dogs and my cats, and they live together. They're fine.
Okay.
Right? I mean, the thing about like dogs chasing the cats, well, that's true in some way, but it's also a bit of a myth in another way. What's really funny is technically in my house, the cats are in charge of the dogs because I have 4 of them. They operate like a little mafia towards the dogs.
Oh my God! Wait a minute. How many cats you got? 3 cats.
4.
4 cats,
Yeah.
and they work against the dog, controlling.
They work
it.
against the dogs.
That's just not fair.
Like if the dogs get too close, they will hiss, they'll bite, and all of a sudden, all the others come out to do the same, and then the dogs go away.
Why don't you just give the dog a break and give him a new home or
Has to know where he stands. He has to know where he stands.
You have a small apartment, right? How big is this place?
My apartment?
I mean, a dog needs freedom. A dog needs a field.
My apartment is it's a 2-floor apartment.
All right. So was he go upstairs?
If they're annoyed, right, or tired, they just go up to the upstairs.
The cats?
The cats go anywhere.
The dog, does he have a place of safety? Or?
Well, it's usually hiding behind me if they get scared of the cats. But they have the total freedom of wherever they want to go. And then take them out 3 times a day.
I think you're a bit of a monster. I mean, that poor dog deserves better treatment. But yes, I have a terrible problem with cats with my wife. She wanted cats, and I wanted a dog. Particularly, I wanted a pit bull. Mm-hmm. Sorry. I wanted a bulldog, not pit bull. But she got 2 cats instead, and we got cat hair everywhere. So I can't. Every time I sit down on the couch, I've got cat hair all over the back.
I can give you a little tip of advice.
Oh, no.
Check what kind of food you're giving with them.
Really?
Yeah. There are certain foods that will reduce that. That will reduce that. I mean, even, my dogs and my cats, especially the dogs. The cats are a little bit more fussy when it comes to food, right? But my dogs pretty much, I try to give them as much fresh food as possible instead of the processed canned stuff.
They love the processed canned food stuff. That's a special at the end of the night. They get 2 cans. And they act like they haven't eaten in years when they see that can opener.
Yeah.
Open,
My cats, because my cats don't like anything, right? They only like one type of food and that's it. But my dogs, on the other hand, I mean, look, when I was younger, the dogs that we had at home, we didn't buy dog food for the dogs. It was like whatever scraps we had at home, that's what the dog gets.
In a farming family, we did the same thing, actually. Yeah.
And what's interesting?
It wasn't until years later that we were told that was a bad idea.
But the thing is, there's been studies on this now that have shown that dogs before the era of the processed food for dogs entered were actually living longer.
Well, I suspect there's a reason for that.
By like 3 to 4 years sometimes.
Chemicals.
And certain illnesses were not in those dogs.
Arthritis, maybe.
Arthritis and lymphoma, for example, which is common in certain breeds.
Yeah.
Farm dogs, on average, I don't know about the U.S., but in Australia, there's dogs that work on the sheep farms and the cattle farms. And some of them live up to like 19, 20 years old.
That's pretty old.
And they're just eating the scraps.
Yeah.
So like with my dogs, I go to the butcher. There's a butcher shop not far from me, and I buy whatever scrap meat he has and the bones and just give it to them.
They love chewing on real bones.
Yeah.
Bone marrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, when you go to America, folks, if you're from Asia, you're going to notice people blimping out, getting huge as soon as you land there, from what you consider fat to, wow, Godzilla fat. And it has to do with processed foods, the chemicals they use to process those foods, creating cancers, diabetes, and of course starch, which is it's corn. It's actually corn that's used for foods. So everything has cornstarch in it. Coca-Cola, potato chips, of course, but everything that's processed. So you're taking in huge amounts of starch. And that's what's killing people today with heart disease and diabetes and you name it.
Well, the thing is, like with me, like, okay, my weight, for example, has pretty much been the same. I've always weighed between
I mean,
195 to 205. I kind of go up and down between that, right?
You're 205, what, pounds?
205, yeah. So 195 to 205 pounds. I always fluctuate between that.
Okay, I'm embarrassing because that embarrasses me because I'm 240. But I lifted weights. I was a heavy weightlifter. It's going away now.
But the thing is, like, when it comes to foods, for humans, right? And I was discussing this just a few days ago. You'll hear people say, "Oh, this food is bad for you. You should never eat it." Well, my belief, and this is common sense now, is that technically no food is really bad for you. It's all about moderation. If I go and sometimes I have a craving for McDonald's. Don't tell me if I have McDonald's like 3 times a year, it's going to kill me. It's not going to. If I had it every day, yeah, probably, It's the same with drinking. I'm not a big drinker. I do like a good gin and tonic every now and again, or a really good vodka or a nice whiskey. I'm not so much of a beer drinker, or a good glass of wine. Okay, if I drank 3 bottles of gin every day, well, hello. But if I have, a glass of red wine every night at dinner.
That's sort of recommended, isn't it, for the heart?
Well, I grew up in that kind of household. Even both my parents, they're not heavy drinkers, My parents always had wine at dinner. I was drinking wine at home when I was 14.
Well, that was very normal.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know McDonald's served wine for a while in Europe, right? Which I thought was very strange. But, Taiwanese are very lucky because my wife goes to the morning market to buy fresh fruits and vegetables and a chicken maybe, and it's not processed. It's fresh.
Well, this is the thing I find. This is one of the reasons why I love Taiwan so much, and this is what reminds me a lot of at home in the Netherlands. Now, in the U.S., you know this as well, and Canada, I can think of some other places. It's not common. It's not uncommon. People will go, let's say, to a big box store and buy a lot of stuff for like the week or 2 weeks, right? And everybody has these gigantic refrigerators, especially in Europe, refrigerators are a lot smaller, like in some Taiwan apartments or even in Japan.
Yeah.
So it's not like you can just buy stuff for the week. At home, my refrigerator, I purposely bought a small one because I don't want to have it overstocked with stuff that either is going to go bad because I'm not going to eat it. So I try to do my shopping here like once every 2 days, which is exactly what I would be doing back at home.
Yeah.
If I want fresh vegetables, I go and buy fresh vegetables for how many days I want it. I'm not going to, overstock it. That's one of the reasons. That's why I said living here. I know that some people, they come to Taiwan and they have a bit of a culture shock. I never really had that culture shock. Again, because of my upbringing, because we were always traveling.
Yeah.
But even like the lifestyle I live, my lifestyle is not that much different here.
But you love this place. I don't think you're leaving.
Oh, I do. I mean, for me, home is where you make it.
That's an old phrase in America and Europe, whatever, but I don't know if that's necessarily true. But go ahead.
Well, for me, home is where you make it because, I first came here in 1997.
Yeah.
And even, even today, I was thinking about this, the changes, the amazing changes that I have seen take place, what the other thing that is really amazing about Taiwan, and when you think about it, so Taiwan was under martial law for a long time, right?
Okay.
But look at how it changed completely and in such a positive way. So many countries couldn't do that change.
Okay.
Yeah,
and do it successfully in a way that didn't create total chaos and insanity.
Yeah.
Like South Africa. My God.
South Africa's one.
What a disaster.
Zimbabwe, which used to be Rhodesia.
Right. They didn't allow for enough time to transition, educate, and get the rule of law in place.
And the interesting thing here is that while the economy has changed, right, while the standard of living has has improved,
Right.
the society has also been modernizing at the same time. It's like this, it didn't just happen one big jump. It happened like gradual, right? Over this period of time. And it's still continuing to do so. That's why I said, like, one of the reasons why I enjoy being here is just to see this kind of change, because I can think of so many places. Okay, like for example, when communism collapsed in Eastern Europe between 1989 and then Russia only a few years later, 1991, I mean, Russia today is still a bit of a basket case.
Well, we thought we really did think that capitalism would go in there and save it, but it
wasn't going to. They had too many years of, and there's still even countries now that you'll find in Eastern Europe. For example, if we take Germany, there was the Federal Republic of Germany and then the German Democratic Republic. Now, for the most part, what used to be East Germany has caught up with West Germany. But the further you go east, you can still sense, and you can still, in Poland, you feel the same thing. Hungary, you feel the same thing. What used to be Czechoslovakia, what used to be Yugoslavia, there are still areas where you still feel that they haven't really gone beyond 1989. They've moved a little bit. But here it's quite amazing. Like I had a cousin of mine that came to visit. And since that time, she's been here a few times. And she says every time she comes, she sees that it's always getting better.
Yeah, if you're here all the time, you don't notice it. But we have young folks come in here from America, Canada, whatever, England, Australia, and they just got out of college, and they come here and they think this is a utopia. And
there are problems. Every place has problems.
I go, listen, they struggled to make it a great place. They really struggled to make this place amazing. Well, you're not contributing by declaring this place a utopia because you did nothing to contribute.
Yeah.
You just arrived.
I mean, I don't know if this you'd probably understand, but I was always something that was instilled to me from my parents, right? Is that during your life, you must have some type of civic duty. No matter what it is, how big it is, right? So even though I wasn't born here, because this place has been my home now for such a long time.
Very few foreigners have that. There's one or two I know that were actually born here.
Yeah.
Americans,
yeah. But, I still, there's certain things that in the community where I live, right, that I will take part in because I feel it's my civic duty. For example, in my area, we have a committee that is run by the local official that's there, and I'm a member of that committee.
Really?
Yeah.
You're a foreigner, though.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes that can be intrusive. It's. I feel like I should have nothing to do with decisions made because I was a journalist, and I feel like we call it the ugly American. It's a term from a book where an American goes to a country and tells people who've grown rice for 1 million years how to grow rice. And then at the end of the book, everyone's starving because he's completely out of his... He doesn't understand the culture, language, whatever. But so I get really uncomfortable when I see young folks coming from straight out of college, coming in here and protesting and getting involved in politics. I just like, oh my God,
Well, you see, with me, I mean, because in my area,
that's your neighborhood, though.
In my neighborhood, but
right.
they've known me for so many years.
They like you,
and I've been living there for so long. They know what I stand for. They know what I believe in.
They just don't know about these antennas.
Oh, they've seen them. I used to joke with them before about that. But, they were very welcoming. I mean, I said, look, if you ever want help, just, and that's how I became part of it. So, like, for example, one of the things that we did in my area is we had a problem, this is a few years back, of people leaving their trash out at certain corners.
Yeah.
And then getting a rat problem.
Yeah, that's gone. You don't see that anymore.
So what we did because it was 4 buildings together. We approached the 4 buildings. There were some foreigners in them already, right?
We know who they were.
And I went to talk to them, and we talked to all the residents. We called all the residents down for a meeting at the community center.
The foreigners.
Well, it wasn't, but it was people from outside that area that were doing it.
Oh, dumping them on the way to work.
Yes. So
whatever.
what we did is we now organized it so each of the buildings pay a small fee, and we pay for a private garbage collector who will come by once a day, and anything that's there, we'll take it away and make sure that and put rat traps and everything. So we cleaned it up, right? But the same with parking. We had a big problem with people parking scooters wherever they wished in our area, and we lobbied the other local official and had them come in and investigate the area, and they actually put down markers on the road where you can park.
Really? Okay.
You know,
well, you're worried that you don't see that in American neighborhoods. Trust me, nobody knows their neighbors, and if they are, they're shooting at them.
Well, the thing is, I mean, it's funny because all my neighbors.
That's not in California. That's very true, but not in my hometown.
Yeah, but I mean, for example, because I spend a lot of time out, right? So if I'm not home, and let's say I get a delivery, right? The delivery people know that if I'm not going to be home, where to bring my packages. We downstairs from just downstairs and a few meters from my place is what used to be very common in Taiwan, a beetle nut shop.
In Taipei, they were everywhere when I first got here, and they had beetle nut babes. And the outer. I don't know if they still do.
They still do a lot less than in 1997.
That was a cultural phenomenon that I thought was interesting. I didn't understand it, but I thought it was a fascinating, history. And I tried beetle nut, and I found it. Well, it's a bit of it's a narcotic, right? It gives you a bit of a kick.
It gives you, caffeine would do the same thing.
Caffeine, but not like that. It's just like boom.
I mean, just to show you what my neighborhood is like. So, because I have a few motorcycles, I actually rent a big parking space that I also use it as a workshop as well.
Oh, I've seen that in the basements of these
Well, no,
places.
it's actually it's street level.
Oh, okay.
It's street level, and I just rent the whole space for my bikes, and I have a small workshop and do stuff. Anyway, not that far away is a temple, and there's all these. This is so funny. These really, if you look up a dictionary and go a rough gangster character, you'd probably see their picture, right? And they are so friendly to me.
Yeah.
They're so friendly, and one time. There was a buzz at my door. It was one of them. It was like 2:00 in the morning. And they said, we just discovered somebody was like walking very suspiciously at the back of your parking. Do you want us to go and check it? I said, it's okay. I'll come down and check it. And it was actually somebody trying to break in.
Oh, yeah. You tools. They want your tools.
They want the tools, right? So they're always keeping an eye on it. And, if I'm taking the dogs for a walk.
Right.
And because I've had old dogs that have died, and I could be out one day and they don't see him. Like, what happened to the other? I say he died the other day, and that's what my neighborhood is like, and that's what these people are like. So I always try as much as possible to give back because I've been welcomed there. And also welcomed in Taiwan. But just like you, when I see these younger ones come over and they're taking part of the protest, I kind of get into an argument with them saying, you're just transiting through this place. You don't really know what's going on. And you're doing it because for what reason exactly? Because you're not going to stay.
Yeah, and you can, if there is a problem, and I won't say what the problem might be, you can get on an airplane leave. These kids, these other folks cannot get on an airplane leave. I'm not going to talk about why, but that's my main argument. Plus, cameras are everywhere. Facial recognition, I said, you really don't understand what you're doing.
No, but I mean, I can. Part of me can. I think because maybe their age and lack of experience.
It's the typical rebellious college kid. I saw him growing up in the '60s. We had a bombing every day in 1968 in America. Someone blew up something.
Oh, yeah, that period, of course.
But today we don't have a bombing every day. We have a protest every day.
Yeah.
It's not that bad.
But I mean, even here, like, I'm involved in one association here concerning motorcycles. Concerning a law that had 3 readings in 2012, and I'm involved in one association here to help them finally push forward to get that law signed. You know, and it's interesting. Like what I have noticed, I don't know about you, but because this is my home, because I enjoy living here, right? Every place has bad things. We know that. There's some things that go, like, something,
Sure.
you know, but why should I let it bother me when it's only like a certain percentage, right? But what I have noticed here is because I'm a long-term resident now. I have permanent residency.
Oh, you do? Oh,
Yeah. I've had permanent residency for many years.
Now, that used to be impossible.
Yeah.
In 1997, they just laughed at me.
Yeah.
You know, nobody gets that.
Yeah.
You know, the president has to order it.
Well,
He ordered that.
the weird thing is actually it's something that I'm looking into now.
It's citizenship.
I could probably qualify.
They have a language test and all that, right?
I think it depends on the situation.
Don't you have to sing the national anthem? Or
No, I don't think it's that. I don't think it's that strict. But because I've been here for such a long time, and like I said, my parents instilled in me, right? When in Rome, do as the Romans.
Yes, absolutely. Everybody should know this
know,
phrase. When in Rome, do as the Romans do. Don't, that you learn so fast about how to survive.
Right. So, for example, I have always said, and I always maintain it. So, if this, for example, this motorcycle association that I'm involved with, right? I was pretty much quiet at the beginning, but then when they said, "Well, could you give us your opinion?" And I said, "Well, look, I'll give you my opinion, right? This is what I think you should do, but you also," I said, "I don't know if you can because the reality here is different." So I never pushed ideas on them, right? And I always said, look, I can give you my opinion. I said, you could try this, but with the reality the way it is, I don't think it's possible. I think you probably have to look at it a different way. You know, so I'm not trying to bring the ideas that I would have, let's say, back home.
This is
here.
a local motorcycle club.
Yeah. Which is the reason why I've been with them for years, and I'm a member of the committee and everything.
Okay.
There are times when they say, because they know I'm going to say my mind. If they know that the idea is crazy, they always say, "What do you think?" And I go, I'm putting my hands up in the air, making a face. They know that I think it's crazy. But I never had somebody, I've never, ever, in my entire time here, had somebody say to me, "You're not Taiwanese, you don't understand." I've actually never come across that. I could understand why some people would, but again, I was brought up, when in Rome, do as the Romans, and having parents that worked in the civil service and diplomacy, I've never come across that.
I've never seen it here. I've never seen it either.
But some people have, I know.
Yeah, I've been in some places here I probably shouldn't have been in, and said some things that probably I shouldn't have said. But I've never been told, you're American, it's none of your business. But other countries in Asia, I definitely keep my mouth shut. There are places that I know they don't like us. I would wear a Canada T-shirt that said Canada on it with a flag. I won't say which countries I would go to in Asia, but I would wear it every day. And I had my own city. I can't remember what it was now, but I knew everything about it. What high school I went to. Because there was always somebody to stop you. "Hey, I went there. Where'd you live?" "Oh, I had the complete story. I studied here. What was Edmonton? I went to Edmonton, and I lived there and born. I had it all down: the street, the phone number."
But the thing I've noticed, and again, this is how with the country, I'm not afraid to go to any country, even here. You smile, you show respect, right?
Yeah.
Let's go have a drink. Oh, okay, and everybody comes together.
Yeah.
And then especially when they find out how long I've been living here, usually their face drops down. They go, "Why?" And then I try to explain to them. There is an expression which is very funny, and I don't know if this was I know that it's an expression that people in Chinese communities overseas will use. But it was funny. I was called one time. Somebody said to me, "Are you sure that you said you're like an egg?" I said, "What do you mean like an egg?"
Oh, that's the old expression. Yeah.
Yeah, I said, "You're like an egg." I said, "Are you sure that maybe there's not a bit of you that's Taiwanese on the inside if you the color of an egg?" I said, "I don't know." I said, "I just happen to like living here." I said, "This could be any place in the world. Every place that I've lived, I always try to make my home and get along with everybody."
Some people take offense to that. The other one is banana.
I never get offended by anything. I mean, it takes a lot to insult me.
You're Chinese on the outside and American on the inside or something. Yeah,
I mean,
you grew up in America, basically. Yeah, there's all these little things that you don't know if they're going to be offensive or whatever, but when you're with your buddies, you just you use this language. Well, yeah, people are shocked when they find out that I've been in Asia since 1990. And they're like, I go to America, I'm in culture shock. They give me change for $1, and I stare at it in my palm. I go, it's too light. There's no metal in this stuff. What is this? Plastic? And I really feel it compared to Asian money.
Yeah,
Asian money's heavy. Particularly Hong Kong money. Oh my God. So I'm like, and the people are looking at me funny. Like, why are you staring at that cornfield? For an hour. I haven't seen.
You know what's really odd, and okay. Back home, when I go back home for a visit and take my motorcycles out, right? I would never ever leave the key in the ignition or leave my phone on my bike and go into a shop and come back out. I would never do that because I know the bike would be gone in a second.
Yeah.
Just like I said, I was in the East Coast the last 4 days, and I was in Yilan for 1.5 of them. And the night in the hotel, I left my key in the ignition of my motorcycle, parked in front of the hotel on the busy street.
Was it gone?
No, it was still there.
Oh, you're lucky. You're so lucky.
I've left phones in places sometimes and gone back, and they're always there. At home, I would never do that.
When I got here in 1997, I went to a pub, and it was a mix of foreigners and Taiwanese, and they had a little basket there, fairly good size, full of cell phones that people had forgotten, who had gotten too much to drink. Mm-hmm. And I said, they don't come back looking for them? Some do, some don't. I said, can I have one of them? And he goes, sure, take one. Go to get one off the bottom of the barrel because they've been here the longest. So I got my first cell phone.
Well, I mean, look, the other thing that you see here, that I don't know if you've seen this in the U.S., but I mean, it rains a lot. And there's a lot of shops. They'll put tons of umbrellas outside, and you can take one when you need it and just drop it someplace else.
Well, that was the old Seinfeld joke, that
twirling.
He twirling the color. I did the twirl, but it was what was the bald-headed guy's name?
George Costanza.
George. I thought they were everybody's.
Yeah.
He had been taking them his whole life. But, hey, we've run out of time again. Oh, my God. We should do something called, John and Keith show or Keith and John show or something. Because
John goes first. You are the elder statesman.
Oh, damn you. He's suggesting I'm older than him.
Well, it's because I'm doing like Marlene Dietrich. I'm pulling my skin back.
Oh, God. Oh. Yes, he's talking about a famous singer and actress. Very famous. All right. Hey, that's it for Fantastic Formosa. Have a great day. Bye-bye.